Okay, welcome to our last Survive and Thrive session. Believe it or not, we're at the end. This is session 8, getting it together. And I noticed several of you have questions about CEUs. We will be sending a really detailed email about how to get your CEUs now that Survive and Thrive is over. If you've missed any secret words along the way, you can pick those up in the recordings of the Survive and Thrive sessions on our Dog Biz YouTube channel. So you can get anything you missed there. But before I forget, as we get started, let's go ahead and do today's first secret word, which is survive. The first secret word for today is survive. And in a few minutes, Veronica or Tia will put that over in the chat as well. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. We have covered a lot of ground in the last 6 weeks. I was looking back through the past sessions and realizing that we have covered things from restructuring your services and making them accessible online to marketing messages and projects for online services. We covered pricing and policies and how to set those so that our clients and our businesses will be successful. Some of you even took deep dives into some technology. And so with all of that, I suspect some of you might be feeling a little like this, a bit overwhelmed. If you're feeling like there's just too much to do, having trouble with juggling your clients' needs, your family needs, your own dog's needs, and also some steep learning curves, and doing all of that while also, just going through the challenges of going to the grocery, it's no wonder that we're in a place where we're feeling overwhelmed. The uncertainty of these times makes it hard to know what we should be doing, where we should be focusing our time. For instance, should we be doing online classes, or should we be focusing on reopening our business? And then even if you have a strong sense of what you should be doing, there's also that second part, which is just, where do I start with all of this? So if you're feeling like this, you are not alone. This is a group full of trainers that are facing some of the same challenges and struggles. And so today, we really want to give you some tools for helping you feel like you can kind of get this under control, get things done, so that you aren't feeling so overwhelmed. Carla says her brain hurts. Yeah, a lot of seconds to that. It is very overwhelming. So today, hopefully we'll be able to take away some of that overwhelm for you. And as we're thinking about doing that, I want us to be careful, because I think it's natural for us to get really focused on that long to-do list and all these things that we have to do. And yet it's more important than ever that we find some balance between our work and our personal lives right now. In times of prolonged crisis and stress, it is important that we take care of ourselves if we want to have enough energy left over to take care of our businesses. And so I don't want to forget that. And I took a look. I really like this particular definition of balance, and even distribution of weight, enabling someone or something to remain upright and steady. If we're to survive the stress of these times, we have to make our day-to-day more sustainable. If we lean too far towards our work, we're not going to remain upright and steady, right? So today is all about figuring out how to balance our days and our work and these new routines that we're all working under, so that we have time to take care of our businesses and ourselves. And of course, that starts with planning, no surprise. If we simply react to the news cycle each day, or to our clients' current demands, it's not going to be long before we start to feel like the bobber that's just being carried out by the current. It's too easy to get swept up in that to-do list and all of the changes that are needed to take your businesses online, only to find yourself feeling like you're adrift, moving away from your big plans, the plans that take you where you ultimately want to be. And last week we talked a bit about that. We talked about creating your plan and deciding on those bigger goals. But today I want to look at what what to look at and ways to keep from becoming the bobber, just kind of bobbing along, and instead moving intentionally toward our goals and the goals that you set for your business and were thinking about last week. So it is always good to take a look at our goals, but I want to review the goals that we set at the beginning of this program and look at them in a little different light. When we choose how to prioritize our time, it's helpful if we kind of think about our goals as in these three categories: immediate, mid-range, and long-term. Our immediate goals are what we've been focused on a lot the last 6 weeks. What can we do to bring revenue in now so that we can keep operating? And whether that was figuring out how to teach private classes or teach privates or do classes, updating your website to take advantage of the online training, all of that was about immediate revenue. When we look at mid-range goals, these are the goals that set us up to emerge from the crisis. So these are goals that allow us to start to move the business forward. And maybe it's moving it forward by saving time in the future. So doing things like creating your video homework library, or creating services for our clients that help them out during COVID that are specifically designed around helping clients get through COVID. Maybe it's bringing your tech knowledge up to date so that you can streamline your admin work in the future by getting client management software, or just getting more familiar with online meetings. These are all things that may not bring in money right this moment, but they will save us time or help us to bring clients in the future. And so those kind of fit in that mid-range. Emerging strong from the crisis is about mid-range planning. But then there are these long-term goals. These are the goals that take us where we really want to go. The goals that help us serve dogs and their people for the long term. This is creating services that we will use for years to come, creating marketing relationships that we'll rely on after the crisis. So each of these three types of goals is important, but because immediate goals have that sense of urgency, they're what we attend to first because they're urgent. The problem is sometimes we get so focused on them that we don't pick our heads up and work towards our mid-range and long-term goals, because we just get so single-minded in our focus. And that can lead us to building businesses that we didn't intend to build, maybe businesses we don't even want. So now that we're a couple of months into this crisis, hopefully you've been able to work on those immediate goals, and now you can take some time to start shifting your energy from those immediate goals as much as possible, and to start looking further down the road. It doesn't mean that you won't still be working on creating revenue now. It just means that you're going to take some of your resource allocation, some of your energy, and put it into your longer term goals as well. Part of looking at this, looking at your goals in this way, I think helps when it comes to decision making. When we start looking at our longer term goals, we're going to have to start saying no to some things and yes to others. And so how do you decide? Not only is it okay to say no to things that you don't want to do right now, you may have to say no to some things that look like they're opportunities if they're not matching the long range goal of the business. Just remember, when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And so using these goals to help us figure out what we want to say yes to is really important. I can say no to clients who want to meet in person before I'm ready. That is not an easy no for you right now. Turning down a chance to bring in revenue is really difficult. But if you use that time that you would have been uncomfortable and spent with the client that's probably on the higher end maintenance scale, if you use that time instead to create and market, let's say you create and market an online class that you can use even after the crisis, your business is going to come out ahead. That new class will generate more income in the long run than those few sessions with that single client ever could. So when you're presented with opportunities right now, Don't just evaluate, will it bring me money right now? Or that old standard of, is it a good opportunity or not? Instead, check it against your mid-range and your long-term goals. Is it a good opportunity and one that will move you closer to where you want to go? Those are the things we want to say yes to. It can be a good opportunity, but not be right for you. And so we have to learn to say no sometimes to good opportunities and really stay focused on those things that are moving us in the direction we want to go. And as you start to say yes, and you start putting your time and energy into things that are moving your business forward, I think you'll start to find that the no's come a little easier. But also remember, there are little things that we give our yeses to every day without really considering their value. We give yeses, we give our energy and our time away to, and yeses to email. We give our time away to Facebook. We give our time away to lengthy client reports. Again, are these things moving your business forward? Are these things you should be saying yes to, or should you be limiting the time that you're spending on those? So I just want to take a minute in the chat to talk about what are those things that you're ready to say no to, so that you can devote some time to really building the business you want. And I'll give you a minute to put those over in the chat, and Veronica can help me wrangle those as well as you see them. So Cheryl is getting pressure to start groups up again. Instead, she's going to work on improving the class format. I like that, so that when she goes back to teaching groups, it's the format that she loves. I love that you've made that a priority. Don't let others take the keys to your business. Stay focused on those long-term goals. I love that. That's a good one.
Yeah, and Gracie says that she said no twice this week, which was painful. But she used the opportunity to refer another trainer and strengthen the trainer-to-trainer relationship. Brilliant.
Yes, brilliant. Love that.
Yeah, and Cece had anticipated before you even said it, the whole email thing, just saying no to intermediate and low level emails that just aren't critically important right this moment.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Sometimes I've experimented with, I wonder what happens if I don't answer that email. The world didn't come crashing. No one, sometimes there are emails we don't have to respond to. And yet, we tend to get in the habit of it. If it's in our inbox, it deserves a response. Maybe not. Maybe stop and evaluate. That's great.
Yeah. And Diane says no to Facebook groups. She says it takes too much time and energy, and she's going to put that energy instead into single group sessions on particular topics.
Nice. Ayala is saying no to perfection so she can move forward.
Oh, yeah.
But ideal. Very, very good. Love that one.
And Jean says saying no to working on days that she designated as days off. She says she hasn't succeeded at that one yet, but I love that goal, Jean. You go for that one.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about ways to maybe help you meet that goal, because that's an important one for everyone. That's great. Well, that's coming up.
Wonderful.
Doris says, I feel I give away too much free information in an attempt to get new clients. I think that's an easy trap to stumble into. And it doesn't really help us to sell our services. Tends to be the longer we're on the phone with them, the less likely the sale. So maybe doing less will not only free up some time, but it might improve your sales as well. Great.
Yeah. I love that. And Anne says saying no to squirreling out. CJ was talking about rabbit holes earlier too. No to squirreling out so she can focus on addressing specific items on her daily goal list. So just not getting distracted by whatever's in front of you, right? Focusing on what you really need to do. I love that. We're going to be talking about that more today too.
Oh, Sheila, what a brilliant one. We haven't talked a lot about this 6 weeks, but yes to asking for help. You've all done a really good job of that in the Survive and Thrive Facebook group, asking each other for help and responding to those requests. That's a great one to remember.
That's awesome. Really awesome.
Okay.
I love it. Love it. Okay. So, we're all talking today about getting things done, right? And we've been so impressed really with the action this group has already taken, both as a community together and each of you as individuals. But of course, there's still much to do. So we want to take a look today at some practices to help make taking action easier and as productive for you as possible. And that's whether you're already making good progress or whether you're struggling to move from ideas to implementation, kind of wherever you are in this process. We're hoping that these ideas today help push you another step along. The first thing we're going to talk about is a master schedule or a master calendar. And this will likely be familiar to you if you've worked with us in the past. The idea here is pretty simple, which is really just that you create this master schedule that guides how you do your work. Basically, the idea that there's a spot for everything. So, that this whole conversation we've been having in the chat about squirrels and rabbit holes and those kind of, immediate low to mid-level things that are just in your face, how easy it is to, to jump on whatever seems, just in front of you, and the squeaky wheel someone was saying earlier as well, as opposed to focusing on the things that are most important. So the idea in a master schedule is that says, here's how I spend my time on Mondays. Here's how I spend my time on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Saturdays. Here are the specific time in my week that I work on my marketing. Here are the specific times on my week that I work on new projects like a new service or building a class. Here are the specific times that I offer to clients for appointments, or the times that I prep for my online classes or my in-person classes. And here are the times too that that I have for my downtime. The things that are important to me in my personal life to create that balance and whatnot. And so, so that's the basic concept. It's just a guideline schedule so that you're not waking up every morning going, oh my God, there's a massive list of things to do. What should I do today? How do I start? In that, that panic of just not knowing how to prioritize. The master calendar says, take a deep breath, because here's what you're supposed to do today. And you can do that with confidence, knowing that you're working on the thing you're supposed to be working on, and you don't have to worry about all of those other things back there too. So that's the basic concept. Let's talk a little bit about what this looks like. And I see a little bit of chat in there about some of the challenges with the master schedule in terms of things getting in the way and whatnot. And part of this is about building a master schedule that actually anticipates all the unanticipated, so that it doesn't blow your schedule up. That's one of the tricks to building one that you can really stick to. And so part of this is about being realistic, and especially right now, about allowing time for things to take longer than you think they will or should, because you're doing a lot of new stuff right now, and you're always going to hit snags, especially when you're doing something new, and you'll need time for tweaking and adjusting all of these new things you're doing. So part of the trick to a master schedule that really works, that can resist the unexpected, is to build in overflow time that's not scheduled. One of the big mistakes people often make with master schedules is they schedule every single moment, so that when something unexpected does happen, it just blows the schedule up. So we want overflow periods for snags, the unexpected, to compensate for an off day that you may be having, especially right now, especially especially now when, we all have, an occasional rough day where our minds just aren't in it. And if you tend to be waylaid by perfectionism, try this trick. Give yourself a set amount of time to work on something, and then call it done enough, right? So you've got to keep it in the block of time that you gave it on your schedule. Remember that what's most important is to get your service up and running, or to get your new marketing project out into the world. It's not, what's most important isn't for those things to be perfect. It's for them to be out there, and you can and you should tweak later. That's how all good things become great. The improvements that you make after you implement, those are going to be informed by experience, now. They're giving you ideas and insight you can't possibly have beforehand, no matter how much time you spend tinkering or fretting the details. In other words, you'll have a better product, and faster too, if you put out good enough sooner. So that's just something to to really be thinking about in terms of prioritizing done over perfect, because that's going to keep your master schedule from blowing up as well. Another thing that, and I just glanced up at the chat, Deborah, you're so right. Most clients won't even realize that it's not perfect. They just appreciate the information and the access to your expertise. That's such an important point. Another thing that's really important on a master schedule always, but especially right now, is, and another way to build a realistic one is to anticipate and provide time for the learning curves that you're on right now, and those that you still may need to jump on too. One hallmark of a professional in any industry is a commitment to ongoing professional development, and you likely already make a habit of giving time to building your dog behavior knowledge and your training skills. We've had the pleasure for years of seeing you at conferences, for example, and many of you take classes and you attend web seminars, and a lot of you have the entire DogWise catalog on your bookshelves. But this moment in time has also forced new skill building, new skill acquisition, learning Zoom, for example, or how to craft videos, or buffing up your verbal coaching skills, etc. So we need to be sure to set separate time aside for these pursuits so they don't slow down your actual project time. You need space in your calendar just for learning. Because we don't want that to get in the way of the project time and make it feel like you aren't moving forward because you meant to get this done, but you just spent 2 hours messing around with Zoom, for example. And as an aside on this point, you're already prioritizing your continuing education and professional development by making time in your schedule to show up live here every week. And so just, make sure that you give yourself a couple of kudos for that. The other thing, as Gina was talking about earlier, in terms of the importance of balance always, and especially right now, is that with all the extra stress of living through a pandemic and all the work that's made necessary to adjust your business and to adjust to different family rhythms, etc., what's going on in your own household and shelter in place, all of those things, scheduling in non-work time is more important now than ever. And achieving your ideal work-life balance has always required deliberate intention, planning, and action. It doesn't just happen magically. One action that you can take right now is making sure to make room for what matters most to you, and room for what fuels you, reinvigorates you, keeps you at your best. These things for you may include family meal times, or homework time with the kids, or time to hang out with a significant other. It could be time for a hobby or exercise, or to plan and make meals, or just to veg out and do nothing. And of course, for most of us, it likely includes time to care for and spend quality time with our dogs too. I just glanced up, CJ says nap time, absolutely. The point is that your work time will be more productive if you give your downtime the priority that it deserves too. Scheduling in downtime also has the added bonus of taking the guilt and stress out. If you tend to spend your non-work time fretting about not working, feeling guilty, not really fully enjoying the downtime because your back of your mind is guilt tripping you about your to-do list, scheduling it into a master schedule gives you permission to just enjoy it fully, because you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And that's important. And I just looked up and saw Jean says, I should schedule my own dog's training and hiking time in this week. What a concept. Yes, what a concept. Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So we thought that it might be helpful to take a look at a sample master calendar for those of you who haven't encountered this idea before. The one we're going to put up here is just an example. Your calendar will be uniquely yours, based on your needs and priorities, and adapted to your situation. So, don't look at this and think, oh God, that wouldn't work for me. It very may well not work for you. You have to build one that's really specific to to your priorities and your schedule and how things work. But what I just want you to notice here is that Gina built the sample for us, and she is a color coder, and I really think that that's so useful in something like this. And so one of the just a simple thing she did in color coding on this one is that blue is personal items, downtime, and black for work items. And you can go further with this, getting creative about colors for family and colors for dogs and different types of work tasks and things like that. But the idea here is that there's room for everything. And notice too that there's not just blocks of work time. It's broken up. Here's time for marketing. Here's time for project work, like working on a new class or designing new private training packages or policies, or whatever it is you're working on at the moment. There's also built in some time for e-learning. You may want even more than that right now. Depending on whatever learning curves you're working on. There are specific client blocks. Those are the spots that are given to clients as options for when to schedule with you. And then specific times for classes. There's also time built in for things like client prep and video review, for the private training, class prep. And then also notice too that phone and email are given their specific own times to keep them from taking over everywhere else. That this is when that gets done, not all over the place and whenever it's pressing. And so that way those things don't break open their boundaries and keep us from the things that are most important. So just a real quick primer on master schedules. I do want to say that some of you may be ready to jump in and build one of these for yourself. Some of you may already have one, and it's a matter of needing to step back and recognize it probably needs some tweaks. Life has changed a little bit. Master schedules often need to be changed for the season, and we're definitely in an odd season right now. For those of you who haven't done this before and are interested in building one for yourself, Gina is going to put some links to articles on our blog that can help. We don't have the time to go into this in a lot of detail, but there are a couple of articles that may give you some guidance in playing with this concept. And also, some of you may not be ready for this right now, and that's okay too. Maybe you need more time to digest the idea, or you have some reservations that we just don't have time to speak to today. Maybe your schedule in place, household climate currently has too many unpredictable elements in it and just doesn't feel doable right now. That's fine. What you can do, though, is to look at carving out some specific blocks of time for just the top 1 or 2 priorities. Things you just absolutely want to make sure that you move forward on or have time for. It could be a particular project, class you're trying to design, or a marketing project you're putting together, for example, or it could be time to provide mental stimulation for your own dogs. But just identifying, if you're not going to do a full master schedule, identifying at least a couple of things that you want to make sure that you particularly protect going forward. And so we thought we'd just take a moment in the chat to say, what's important to you? What are you going to make sure you protect, either in a master schedule or just in a full master schedule, or just do kind of a simple step and carve time out for 1 or 2 things? What's most important to you?
Veronica, while they're thinking about that, there's been some discussion around, like, how do you actually use this if you're using an electronic calendar? And so I'll let them go ahead and put that in, but I just wanted to address that because it's come up several times. And you can print it out and put it on your desk, or you can put it into, like, if you're I use Google Cal, and I just put my marketing time in, and it's in every week, and then and you'll see in a little bit, then as I assign that marketing time specific tasks, I override that with the task. So it's all blocked in.
And I'm all old fashioned and do it in an old fashioned paper calendar. It doesn't really matter what tool you use. Yeah, just whatever you most like. So I am seeing a lot of folks who are prioritizing their own dogs. Michael says that. Marin says specifically that she protects her dog hikes as a priority for her sanity. Sarah and Shauna are talking about their time off, their days off. Shauna says she's a resource guarder about that. I'd love to hear that. Debbie's talking about self-care time. And then some folks are talking about marketing, like Annie says, marketing time for her is what she's going to make sure that she makes some time for. And TJ says that as well. Ayelet's talking about prep time for client appointments so that she feels less frazzled and the day goes smoother and she feels happier. I love that. Helene's talking about learning webinars. Yeah, and then some talk about remembering to eat a real meal. And Gracie said, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love it. Love it. So it looks a lot like a lot of you are really focusing on self-care issues. And I think that that's so glad to see that. It's so important. And then also picking something that you want to work on for the business and making sure that you've got that time as well, and that it's not overriding that self-care time. So I love to see you prioritizing that piece. I think it's just so critical. So then when we've got the work pieces that you decide to do, whatever project it is you're working on, and you all have brainstormed some amazing ones for new classes, for new approaches to private training, for marketing projects, etc. And some of you have already jumped into implementation. Some of you are trying to kind of work out where and how to begin. Wherever you are in your process, you're going to meet with more success and experience less stress along the way with a good action plan, essentially a step-by-step pathway from idea to completion. The idea that we don't just say, hey, I'm going to create this online puppy class. We say, what are all the steps that I'm going to need to take to do that? We want to break that down so we can focus on one thing at a time and really put a plan together to take things from concept to reality, just like a good training plan, right? So when we think about action planning, the first thing is we have to envision what the finished project looks like. We have to know, where we're headed. What is it that we're trying to do? So for example, let's say that you decide that that because you don't have a demo dog and because of the structure you're thinking about for your classes or your private training, that you want to have a series of simple demo videos. And so so that's sort of, your vision is you're going to have, a series of 2 to 3 minute demo videos for all of the different types of cues and concepts and things that you normally would have, in your class, for example. And so then we need to say, okay, well, what do we need to get done to accomplish this? I mean, for some of you, you say that and it's like, oh my God, it just feels so big and huge. And where do I even begin? Well, you begin by listing all of the sub-steps of the project, trying to figure out, well, what are all the different little pieces, and just brainstorming them, just throwing them down on paper. So for example, I need to decide on the content. What are the videos that I'm going to do? Am I doing one for Sid? Am I doing one for loosely walking? Like, what are these videos? And then I need to script each of them. I'm going to need to shoot them. I'm going to need to edit them. I'm going to need to upload them, put them somewhere that people can access them. Oh gosh, if I'm going to share them with people, then I also need to write delivery emails, right? I don't want to have to write the email every time. Here's a video about blah, blah, blah. I want to kind of just like all that's done ahead of time so I can just, send it out. All right, super. But if I'm going to get all these things done, what do I have to do to make that happen? Well, I'm going to have to set up a shoot space. I'm going to have to set up my space for doing the video shoots. I'm going to have to research equipment and the editing software I'm going to use. I'm going to have to purchase that equipment and the software. Oh gosh, and I'm going to have to set a time aside to learn that and practice with it, right? So it's like I start doing all these pieces, and then I can look at each of those steps and say, are those steps split down enough? Am I, with Bob Bailey on my shoulder, is this split down enough for me? Or do I need to break these down into sub-steps too? Are there, in order to do, one thing or another, are there other little pieces? And everyone's different. We all sort of have exactly the right criteria setting for ourselves. And so you may break some of this down into even more detail. Or it may be fine for you. I mean, you're just thinking about it from a trainer's perspective. What are the individual steps that feel doable to me, that I can really visualize what's involved in doing each of these things? So researching equipment, it might be that you say, okay, I'm going to go back. Maybe you break that into sub-steps. I'm going to go back and look at the Survive and Thrive bonus text session and remind myself about, some of those websites that Gina talked about. You can break it down into more detail if you need to. Now, the list for your action plan can get long, right? And depending on your project and how much you split the steps down, it can get quite long. But don't let that get to you. Don't let that overwhelm or intimidate you. It's a perspective thing, because you only have to do two things with that list. You have to figure out the order of the items and put them on a timeline, decide when you want the project completed by, and then backtrack that. Well, if I want the end thing done by this time, when do I have to have each of these sub-steps done? So you're just doing that, putting that order and schedule together. And then the only thing you have to do is to focus on one step at a time. When you do it this way, when you put the list together and figure out the timeline for it, you can ignore the list as a whole. If it freaks you out to look at it, put it away. Just work your way down it, one item at a time. That's all you have to do. And the way you do that is to put the action steps into your calendar. Into your master calendar if you're using one, or just into your simple calendar if you're not quite ready for that step. You just put it into your calendar. Literally decide when you will do each step. So you know when you want it done by, and that's great. But what's really important is when you're going to actually do it, do it. This allows you, as you put these steps into your calendar, it allows you to see how you will accomplish your project. You can see it laid out. None of this like, oh my God, how am I going to get this done? You can literally see how you're going to get it done. And it allows you the peace of mind to focus on just the immediate task at hand at any given moment without worrying about everything else on your to-do list, because you know that those other items all have their own designated space in your calendar too. So it gives you the ability to just focus in and to remind yourself what the priority for the day is. And Gina's going to kind of give you sort of a peek at what that might look like on your calendars, just to help you visualize it a little bit.
Yeah, so just to make sure you got it, because for me that was life-changing. When I went from DUE dates to DO dates in the calendar, it changed everything. So if you're having trouble with your schedule, constantly getting thrown out the window or not working for you, I think it's because we are scheduling when things should be done and not when we're going to get things done. And that starts even, I see it in high school and middle school. They give the kids planners and they have them write in all the days that they have tests, but they don't show them how to write in how to study for the test and when that should happen. And so that is just so key. And as we look at this schedule that I've put up here, what we've done is replace kind of these general categories with DO things, DO items. We've taken things off the to-do list, put them in the calendar, so there's no more list to drive us crazy anymore. Here, I put in red the change that I made. So that was project time when we looked at this is the exact same master schedule that we had earlier, but where it said project work, I just specifically put in which piece of that video project work would be done. So I'm going to spend an hour prioritizing the list of videos that maybe you need for a class. These are all of the pieces of homework I would like to have videotaped. And then I'm going to outline a script for the homework I need for class number 1, right? That's a 2-hour project. Someone was asking in the chat, like, how long do you give each task? Well, some tasks you need longer, more focused time, and others task less. But I will say, when you look at studies, every hour to 2 hours, you need a 5 or 10 minute mental break. So that tends to be the blocks of time that I work in, because I know that if I'm working on something for longer than 2 hours, it's diminishing returns because I start to chase the squirrels. So, you may have your own time frame that works for you, but that's why it's blocked out this way. And then you'll see over on Saturday, that was Thursday. If you look over on Saturday, that project work, it's the same project. It's just the steps are broken down. Now we're prepping the video equipment and doing a practice run. And then at 10 o'clock, actually recording the homework for that class. So you're just taking those things again from your to-do list and you're plugging them into the calendar. And what this means is I don't have to worry about those other things getting done. because they're going to show up on a specific day of the week at a specific time. So I don't have to stress about whether or not they're going to get done. I already made time for them. I know they will, because I know they're going to show up on my calendar at some point. It takes so much of the stress away when we do this. So just taking your work and putting it into and overlaying it over that master calendar. One of the things we talked about earlier is like, what are the first steps, or getting started sometimes being difficult. So I wanted to use some chat time here for you to think about, what is one project that is at the top of your priority list that you would like to get started but haven't yet? And what is the first step? Just think about that project for a minute, and what would be the first step to getting that done? And if you're willing to share that over in the chat, then please do that. Marie, I think there's been some discussion about, using overflow time and what happens when you need to reschedule. So the beauty, I'm going to back up just a second to show the calendar here. The beauty of the calendar is, let's say I had to, this client, I needed to move them for some reason to my admin time. I can swap it out. I can put my admin time over here. I have all of the puzzle pieces. I can move them around. I can't just throw them away. I can't just take my marketing and time, say, I'm not going to do it, but I can put it somewhere else if I need to make adjustments because I have, I don't know, a doctor's appointment or something that has to happen at a specific time. I have all the pieces accounted for. Now I just rearrange them. I don't know if that's helpful or not. Veronica, you can pop in too as you're looking at the list.
Sorry, you did. So CJ says that her first step is going to be moving her demo videos to a shareable platform. It's awesome. Jean says video group class, step 1 to figure out when she wants it done and backtrack her epic to-do list to schedule time for specific steps. I think that's an excellent first step, and awesome that you've got the to-do list already formed. Deb says she wants to start with offering, with only offering packages, and so she's going to figure out, how much, what those packages should look like. So that's great. Erica's had it on her list for ages to finish cat training and behavior page, and she loves blocking off specific time for that. And the first step will be writing the info for the page before trying to pull it all together. Fantastic. Love it. Love it.
Erica, that's a really good example of, here's my priority, and also here's my first step. You've really outlined that first step beautifully.
And he's going to work on finishing the handouts and class material for her online classes. Love it, love it. TJ's going to train and set up for Zoom classes. So start just, prioritize that learning bit. That's wonderful. Mary Jo is going to develop a written description of her online program, what it is, what's included, the advantages of it, etc. Yeah, I love that. Just these really specific tasks, right? I mean, how much more, that low-hanging fruit thing. And that's the thing, you break down the tasks into whatever size allow you to say, I can totally imagine myself doing that. Yes, I love that. Wonderful.
Okay, now that I'll let you go ahead and continue to put those in the chat if you like. But I also want to give you some tips for how to protect these schedules and how to protect this time. If it's going to all get done and we're actually going to stick to these schedules, we have to protect our focus time. And by that, we have to stop trying to multitask. And I know that some of us take great pride in our multitasking abilities, but I am about to burst your bubble. I'm among you, so it's mine too, I suppose, but it does not matter which study or set of statistics that you look at. The bottom line in all of them is that we are actually not good multitaskers. And that multitasking makes us tired. When we multitask, we aren't actually doing more than one thing at a time. What we're really doing is quickly switching back and forth between tasks. And some of us are really good at switching back really quickly. The problem is that all that switching is exhausting because it uses up oxygenated glucose in our brain. So it uses that fuel that we need. It uses it up. And so we have less fuel to do the things that we're wanting to do. So when you're ready to work on your marketing or your project or learning something new, it really is important for you to turn off the distractions. You need to silence your phone. It's okay. You do not have to be accessible to your clients every single moment. You turn off the phone, turn off your social media, turn off your email notification, that little ding that tells you every time something is in your inbox and you just can't resist, going over and seeing what came in. If you have an office, it might mean, hanging a big red stop sign outside your door that tells people not to come into your office. Whatever you have to do to keep the squirrels off your desk, right? Whatever you have to do to keep yourself focused. And what you'll find is you can get so much more done in a shorter amount of time if it's uninterrupted. You don't need 3 hours to do that task. You really can do it in an hour if you are focused solely on that. Then you're going to be less tired and you're going to have more energy for your clients, for your family, for everything else in your life. So we don't have to work so many hours. We just have to be more focused in our work. And one way to do that, or one start to that, is to not start your day with email. That's where many of us start, right? We come down, we flip on our computer, and we start looking at emails. And when we start our day by answering emails, we start our day with someone else's agenda. We start to do the things that are important to them and not necessarily to the things that are in our master schedule or that are important to us. Those emails will wait an hour or two. Trust me, they absolutely will. But if you start with them and you get off track, you might not get that focus time back. So I encourage you to put your focus time earlier in your day, not during the 2 o'clock slump that we all feel. Start with your project time or your marketing time each day, because when you've done that, you will have taken a step toward those goals that you have for yourself every single day. You're not going to end that day feeling frustrated, like, oh, I got bogged down, I didn't get to the things I wanted to do. If every day you first do one thing for yourself in the business, then open it up to everyone else's needs. So just so important. And I think that this is one thing that can really help, again, with keeping you from getting off track. So that's what I want to say. There's one last thing to all of this, to protecting your time and help keeping you focused. I'm going to let Veronica go into this one.
Yeah. Positive reinforcement works on humans too, right? It's important to acknowledge every step on your action plans, not just the final achievement, right? We need to build that motivation, that sense of progress. Really encourage you to set up a personal reward system, whatever works for you. Perhaps, small things like taking a break for a cup of tea or a game of fetch with your dog, or, some guilt-free Facebook time at the end of a focused hour, for example, or when you've completed a smaller task on your list, on your action plan. And set up larger rewards for larger steps on your action plan, or steps that frighten you, that it's just really hard to get yourself to start on. That there's a reward at the end of that one. And certainly for completing a project, it could be gifting yourself something that you've been eyeing for a long time and just kind of felt guilty buying, or it could be a guilt-free day off, or just whatever's personally motivating for you. But what's important is that you do that, because nobody else does, right? I mean, you you have to be the one to do that for yourself. And so I invite you to get into the chat. Like, what do you find rewarding? What kinds of rewards might you employ for yourself? And just get in there and share some ideas with each other. And one more tip on this, while you're doing that, while you're in there sharing how you might reward yourself, big or small, please schedule a few moments every day. Schedule them at the end as you're closing up work for yourself, and also at the beginning of your work day to celebrate your wins. It's kind of a cheesy concept, but it's not. It's so critically important. You focus so much energy on positively reinforcing others. You need to give that to yourself too. So ask yourself at the end of the day, what did you do today, big or small? Just take a moment, 2 minutes, to run down the list. We're so focused all the time on what's still to do, on all the things we haven't done yet, that sometimes we forget that we're actually making progress. It's like with clients, right? They're so focused on what their dog isn't doing yet that sometimes we really have to step back and show them, do you remember that 4 weeks ago, this is what was going on? Look at how much better it is now. You know, it's not where we want it to go, but look at all the progress we've made. You have to do that for yourself too. Oh, I just looked up, Ayla says she has a friend who writes her done list and not just her to-do list. Oh my God, I love that. And also ask yourself every morning as you sit down, before you face the list, before you start hyperventilating about all the things that have to be done today, which you're not going to do as much anymore because you're going to have this, set idea of this is what I'm supposed to focus on today. But still, before you start, ask yourself, what did you accomplish yesterday or this past week that you're going to be able to build on today? Just reminding yourself about the progress you've made. Some of the projects you've chosen, some of the challenges you're facing are really large. And if you don't pay attention to that progress along the way, it's really easy to become discouraged. And so just to make sure that you really are acknowledging what you're accomplishing. And some days it's going to be amazing, this list. And other days, you know what? If all you have on there is, I actually got out of bed today and managed to put in 2 hours before everything got to be too much, well, then that's what you celebrate today, because it really is about just recognizing what gets done, not just what there is to do. So be kind with yourself be generous with yourself the way you are with others and with dogs. Okay. So we want to just remind you to take breaks, to be kind to yourself, to recognize the value in being productive, yes, but also the value in doing nothing, the value in playing, the value in spending time caring for others, the value in self-care. If this moment teaches us anything, let it be that our lives are more than the work we do, however valuable it is. And remember always that to do our best work, we must be at our best. And not that any of us are spending time on airplanes these days, but remember what the flight attendant always says: put your own mask on before helping others, right? Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your to-do list, or whatever else it is you want to get done. Remember that balance is so important to progress. And through it all, the good days and the rough ones, remember that you've got this. You've got this. You really do. Maybe imperfectly, and maybe some days more than others, but you do. You still have all the expertise you came into this moment with, and you're fast building new skills to better share that expertise with the world. You're surviving the moment, and you're setting up to emerge stronger from it. And you've always got the dogs and their people in your mind and your heart. You're amazing. Even on the days you don't feel like it, you are, because you show up and you care. And speaking of showing up, thank you for doing just that, for showing up here at Survive and Thrive for yourself, for your clients and your students, for your training colleagues, and for our industry, frankly. We had a vision when we decided to create Survive and Thrive of bringing positive reinforcement trainers together to tackle this enormously challenging moment, to save individual businesses and chart a way forward for our industry as a whole. But you are what made that vision a reality. You, by coming and showing up and being your amazing, generous selves every week. And like I said, that's what you are. You are amazing. we've learned so much together and we've accomplished so much already. I think we've also gotten a sense of just how much there is to do, and how much easier it is to do it together. And a lot of you have expressed to us in various ways in the chat and Facebook and reaching out to us about a desire to keep going together in some way. And we'd like to do that too. And we've been working the last couple of weeks to figure out how to do that. We're going to be making a formal announcement on Thursday, but we wanted to share here with all of you first what we're planning next. So first, I'm going to give you today's secret word, the second secret word, which is thrive. And we've decided to use that word today, thrive, because we've decided to launch a new ongoing group membership, group coaching membership program based on Survive and Thrive, which we're going to call Thrive. We'll be taking all the aspects of the Survive and Thrive program that we feel were the most powerful, and we've got all sorts of ideas. We're adding quite a few new tweaks based on what we've learned and what else we think is needed. Thrive will be similar to Survive and Thrive. We'll be meeting once a week to share our ideas and advice, but there's going to be more focus on helping members to implement your plans, your ideas, your projects, more time for details and troubleshooting and doing. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to invite only Survive and Thrive participants initially. We're going to invite Survive and Thrive participants to become founding members at $35 a month. We'll be ready for registration on Thursday, and we'll close next Thursday, the 28th. And the program's going to start on June 4th. So essentially, we're going to have a 1-week open membership period just for Survive and Thrive members. We'll eventually open to new members, maybe late this year or sometime next year, but at a much higher membership rate. This rate is really our way of building on the community we've created here together and thanking you for being such a part of that. This isn't something that we did, Dog Biz. This is something that we did, all of us together, and we want to honor that. And so expect an email on Thursday with details and the official invitation to join as a Thrive founding member. In the meantime, though, we just want to thank you again for being part of this and for making it what it's been. And this has been, quite honestly, the most inspirational experience of our 20-year careers. We've been honored and humbled to be part of it with you, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts and ask you to please stay safe. And with that, we'll reach out on Thursday, let you know what's going on. Oh, I just realized that I've had my video off all this time. I'm sorry. Say hi. That way, that's good though. You can't see my eyes getting all clamped. But we're so we're just about ready to take everything live. So we'll give you all the details then. But in the meantime, again, thank you. You guys have been amazing and just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, thank you to all of you for your inspiration and your support. This really has been a wonderful experience, and we're looking forward to continuing that with you over in Thrive. But we hope you stay safe, and we'll hope to see you there.
And the secret word a couple of you are saying last time, thrive. It's right on the screen for you. All right. Take care.